subjective history. That history is more subjective in nature, not objective in nature. How? And there is a contemporary scholar called Greenblatt. He developed a mode of writing history where he uses lots of fiction. For example, he takes Shakespeare, he is not Indian historian, I'm just giving other ways of writing history which are popular now. He is using Shakespeare's novels. Shakespeare's novels, they are not history, they are fiction. But he is reading those novels and interpreting that time of history. What was there around that? When Shakespeare was alive, around 15th century. He's trying to show that, look, when somebody is even writing fiction, he's trying to present the society in a way. Right. So that is, I feel this type of method would be more suitable because mostly we think our Itihas is story. Even if somebody thinks it is entirely fictitious story, still there are some historical truths in it. Because when the people they are writing a grand story of that time, they are part of the culture, they are part of the time. They are indirectly they are bringing many facts of that time. So that model is that is why for purpose I have many models are chosen. This is not yet fully adapted for Indian because Indian industry, but would be helpful. Maybe try to those who are interested in history try to source this person.
So would you mind explaining expand on which means not yet adapted to whom?
Sorry.
Not yet adapted.
Not yet adapted means not yet adapted to Indian context.
To India.
India. So look at the heading. So
India.
not yet adapted in context of Indian history.
Just India.
Yeah. The heading is so these are adapted already for. These are not yet adapted.
For Indian history.
For Indian.
That's why, sir.
These are the recent time. Then that is still alive. So it takes time. When Marx was alive, you could not find lots of Marxist history. So that way.
According to
Yes, they were not ready. So he did not make history, by the way. Dharampal presented facts. Now fact is not history. History becomes when you using those facts and based those data you are creating a narrative. I defined each style, everybody tells them. History is there is a story element in it. You have to tell a story. So what his data is being used in order to propagate nationalist history because it brings India in a very positive light. Ancient India, pre-British India. So it won't be adopted by these Marxists or English historians. Nationalists will take the right because Indian universities were dominated by Marxist historians, so that there are politics in you might have not heard of that. But you might have, somebody is a history student, he must have heard RSM, Marwala, Thakur, but not Dharampal. Now Dharampal is bringing that data which shows that, which in fact propers the way of our understanding, and you can't deny because he is presenting a data not India from Indian source, from British source itself. So that is why, and now present day India ruling parties, some nationalists. So that is why Dharampal we can do just before 2014 you could not have Dharampal conference. So since certain ideologies they get propagated during certain times. And certain histories are shown and certain histories are not shown. That is how history is, as I said, it's a cherry picking. You have to cherry pick. Even then you will write history, you will also cherry pick. Suppose if you say this government is doing something good about Dharampal, your job is in problem. And in present, if you try to make a very, strong remarks against, say, nationalist history, again you will be in trouble. Not India is, by the way, for others, India is very much open. It's not, you can speak against government, you won't be put in jail, at least. At least right now, you can speak against government, you want, but at least, yeah, government will, make trouble, not always. India is a relatively, from my experience of other people working in different other countries like say China, or they are in big trouble. At least in here you can speak against government, you can, and still you are not, you will realize this when you are in those types of countries only. So, anyway, so these are other two schools which are contemporary, recent schools of writing history. We are talking about how history is being written. Meta history tells that there is no objective history, it's more subjective. And cultural poetics tells that even from fictions you can derive multiple historical facts. So, maybe in our school of world literature, I hope somebody is speaking about cultural poetics, like how you can connect literature with literature. And those who are in for this class, there are some students who read lots of fictions. I read lots of fictions, especially during my young age. Lots of novels, serious novels, not very popular sort of novels. For example, Shakespeare or Indian authors also have written. So you get lots of ideas about it, although they are fictions. For example, how many Indian students have read, but there are some fictions like Immortals of Meluha. Immortals of Meluha. Secrets of Naga. You have read, good. So if you read Immortals, the person is not telling that I am writing history. But if you read Immortals of Meluha, you will get a big idea of Indus Valley civilization. So that way, the fictions also can be used in a way. Especially right now, the fictions which are being written, maybe after 100 years, they will reflect what was happening. Because when you are with pen, whose pen? So when it's difficult to tell some historical facts in terms of history. So mostly these creative people, they write novels, and then in novels you are telling this is fiction. So the government is not going to trouble you. If you write it as a fact, then people will. So you hide that and you try to tell through fiction. That's a tool which people in ancient times people they wanted to speak against king. And if the king is cruel, the problem is person, so they will create a fiction. And through that they will start telling you many things. And after 500-600, when you read that story, you get some idea. For example, I'll give you one typical example. When Tulsidas is writing Ramcharitmanas in 16th century, so there is the part of it is called Uttarkand, and it's talking about what are the problems of Kali Yuga, this dark age in which we are living. And actually, he's talking about all the contemporary problems of the society. He's not actually his main purpose is to like the book is about Rama telling the story of Rama of ancient times. But he's also bringing, especially in that book, he's bringing certain narratives which were contemporary, the problems of that time. Because India was under Mughal rule at that time, so there were some religious impositions. So it's not directly bringing, indirectly bringing problems in Uttarakhand. So, if you are interested in that, that's a typical example, writing Indian history using fiction. So that can be adopted, this idea, cultural poetry. This is a very serious passage, few lines from a book called Discovery of India. The book name is The Discovery of India. A part of it is still taught in Indian schools. written by first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. So, his famous book, Discovery of India. And in that, page number 50, is mentioning this. Now, when I read this, I was a little shocked. I was taken aback. He says, this is a very truthful confession. This person was a great, leader, and he's confessing this. By the way, this is I'm not presenting it as a negative picture. I'm presenting this in a positive side of this person. He's confessing, and this is also applicable to us. We think that we know a lot about India as Indians. Now, this first Prime Minister of India, who is writing, who made the discovery, this is his confession. He's saying, India was in my blood. There was much in her, much in India that instinctively thrilled me. Like I was thrilled by knowing about it. Yet I approached India almost as an alien critique. Somebody who is totally outsider is alien, and critique to criticize. He is approaching, first Prime Minister of India is approaching India as an alien critique. He himself is saying, you can check it out. It's not maybe. My Nehru, I have not made it. This statement. He is saying, yet I approached her almost as an alien critique, full of dislike for the past, for the present, as well as many of the relics of the past that I saw. He was full of dislike. Himself is saying this. To some extent, and now the reason why he is a person who is filled by India, but he is full of dislike of the present and the past. The reason he is saying, I came to her via the West. I came to know India via the West. The way we are coming, we are not reading Indian history in any Indian language. We are coming to history through the narratives of colonial, Marxist, all are developed in Western mode.
So was it because he was educated at Cambridge?
Not necessarily. I am not educated in Cambridge. But still, this is applicable to
His approach was a Western approach to his own country.
Yeah, so even Savarkar was educated also in Cambridge, a very famous nationalist. Not necessarily that you are educated, so you will become that sort of.
But you're trained to think in a particular way.
No, what I am saying, not this person was educated. That even though I am trained in India, still I can. This is applicable to me. I also confess this. This is not just Nehru's problem. This is average Indian problem, including us, including contemporary Indian. We are coming to India via the West. The history which are written, which is still taught, have been heavily borrowed, not almost, totally I would say. To be politically correct, I am saying just heavily, but it is totally borrowed from the Western model. Anyway, so he is saying, to some extent, I came to India via the West and looked at her as a friendly Westerner might have done. Friendly Westerner. It's not that all the European or British people were, writing bad about India. Pierre Basson wrote the wonder that was India. William Jones wrote that Shakuntalam, one of the Indian texts, is the top literature in the entire world. So it's not that we are friendly Westerners. Indian freedom movement started with any patient and aid. So it's not they were friendly Westerners. But again, getting the holistic picture of India, they did not have. They admired the past. Dale Basson is not saying the wonder that is India. He's saying that was India. Again, a colonial framework is there. They are trying to glorify the past, not the present. Which Dharampal is trying to rebuttal. He is trying to present that. And mostly Indians, when they see, oh, India, my India is great, so they will feel, oh, good, the person. Not necessarily your follower is not necessarily your fan. Your fan is Hayal. So there was somebody shared some meme that there is a deer being chased by a lion. And the statement was, your follower is not your family. So people might follow you to kill you. So many such types of things were really. So I came to her via the West and looked at her that then looked at India as a friendly Western fighter. I was eager and anxious to change her outlook. We brought modernity, big dams, Indian Institute of Technology, all this. So these are modern innovations. I was eager and anxious to change her outlook and appearance and give her the garments, clothes of modernity. Get doubt arose in me, within me. Did I know India? I would presume to scrap remove much of her past heritage. Did I know India? That's the question. Did we know India? I'm talking as Indian. So, first founding father of Indian nation, this is his confession.
Westernized approach to change our Indian history. Is that what question of this?
No, he's not writing historiography or he's telling the way I am telling you that Western, he's saying, he's confessing, this is a very truthful confession. That do I know India? Because I have come to India via the West. Mostly I have read the Western sources. Not trained in Indian way of thought. No, fortunately, I'm talking about myself. Fortunately, I came in contact with some of the Tibetan masters, those who directly came from Tibet in 1960s. And they were not at all exposed to any modernity. For example, one of my teachers was saying that when they were coming from Tibet, they were told that India has a train, a railway system. And what is railway system? Do you know? There is a big iron box in which you have to put. And that iron box will be dragged down the tracks. How painful it would be. So they came from no electricity, how they read, they was reading their text. They use a very thick incense stick. So they will take that incense stick and then there is some light. So that is how they have read the text. No electricity, nothing. And they are contemporary people, many of them are still alive. So they did not see any modernity. And the kind of their idea they had of Indian religion tradition, that was something very unique. And thanks to those masters, teachers, that I personally am speaking, I came to some, to how the Eastern ancient people looked at it. Because here in India, even though somebody is nationalist, he is coming to India via the West. I know this is a strong statement, but that's also the truth. So we need to think, do we know India? And this is not just I am speaking about India. You should ask question for you, do you know your country, Vietnam? Do you know Bhutan? Do you know Bangladesh? I'm talking about something of a deeper history. Because most of the ideas are coming from, grandmas. Many of them heavily borrowed the Western models. So there is this scholar, German scholar named Habermas. He has made this statement. There is a book, India and this German book, India and Europe. The modern planetary situation. Eastern means Asian, mostly Asian culture. Eastern and Western culture can no longer meet one another as equal partners. They meet in a westernized world under conditions shaped by Western ways of thinking. Very sad but true, especially for Indian culture. And this right now we are studying in ancient, revival of ancient, most university of this country, and mode of communication is not in Asian language. European land. The mode of the academy, the pedagogy, the way we are studying is westernized. We are living in a westernized. Look at the clothes.
So when was that book written?
Huh?
When was that book written?
20th century. This Hogwarts is 20th century. And very well-known historian, well-known thinker, German thinker. So I'm talking about Asian culture, which includes Eastern culture, which includes most of us. We are meeting in a westernized condition, shaped by Western ways of thinking. I will give you a very personal account. This is an NCERT book which is taught in all government schools of India. NCERT. So, the book during my generation, we studied this. This is class 11 history book. Ancient history. This ancient history book which was taught to my generation. Now they have changed us. And this book was written by the founding professor of the university where I studied, Delhi University. R.S. Sharma is the chief editor of this book. R.S. Sharma is a well-known Marxist historian. Well-known Marxist, very top scholar. Founding, one of the founding head of department of my own department where I studied. And there is a page, origin of Mahayana Buddhism. Now we know Mahayana Buddhism is Buddhism which is popular in China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Tibet, Bhutan, Nepal. So this is how class 11th history student is introduced to Mahayana Buddhism and including the entire Himalayan belt. This is how 11th class. I did not study because I went into science stream. So my nephew, who was preparing for sales services, Indian sales services exam, one day he told me, "You are writing and studying a lot of Mahayana Buddhism." I said, "Yes, Mahayana Buddhism is a wrong, fake Buddhism." I said, "How are you saying?" So then he sent me a screenshot on WhatsApp, and I'm taking that screenshot. So entire generation of Indian school students, how they are introduced to Mahayana Buddhism in Indian school is this. Now let us read. For I tell my, especially the students who follow Mahayana Buddhism, when they, and including my professors, they all taught me because they also studied. This is the norm in India. And what wrong idea of Mahayana Buddhism we inherit from our schools, teacher, college professor, Indian education system. And this is not just about other entire Himalayan belt from Ladakh to Arunachal, it's Mahayana Buddhism. And what we have been teaching to our generation is this. The title is, page number 148, Ancient India, class 11 book. In origin of Mahayana Buddhism. So, first, it is presented that Mahayana did not originate during time period of Buddha. So, first itself is, it is telling that it is a fake Buddhism, which is wrong, factually wrong. But this is how, and look what they are saying. Further, a Buddhist welcomed foreigners. How Mahayana Buddhism originated. So, R.S. Sharma is saying, further, Buddhists welcomed foreigners who were non-vegetarians. All this meant laxity in the day-to-day living of the lives of monks and nuns. I think monks and nuns, they became very relaxed. They led a sparse, very, enjoying life. They now accepted silver and gold. So this is Marxist approach. Silver and gold, money. Money is the reason behind Mahayana Buddhism. They took non-vegetarian food, wore elaborate robes. Discipline became so slack that the renunciate even deserted the glorious order of Sangha, what we call Pali or Theravada. They deserted it. And some of the householders, they resumed household because Mahayana tells that even householder can become a Buddha. Mahayana Buddha gives that. So
then he's saying this form of Buddhism came to be known as Mahayana or the Great Way. So it's very presenting Mahayana Buddhism in a very bad light. And and this is how. So I often tell that please forgive Indians, especially to my foreign friends or friends. Forgive Indians. They are not taught. They have not taught about the Buddhism properly. And let us assume, even if it is true, I don't know, let us assume even if it is true, it is not something which will bring harmony. This type of idea will create problem with India as a nation, as a diplomatic state, with the neighboring states like Nepal, Tibet, China, Bhutan, Vietnam, Japan. And unfortunately, this has been used by China. China is saying, look, Indians, they don't care about Mahayana Buddhism. We are the actual, inheritors of Mahayana. Very sad. But so that is why before telling history, we need to know how the history has been written, interpreted. And this is just one case. There are multiple such cases. Another typical approach for especially Buddhist history is to propagate Theravada or Pali. By the way, I have been trained in Pali. My initiation, my entry into Buddhism was through Theravada Buddhism. So I am not against Theravada Buddhism or Pali. But the way this idea of Theravada has been used by Britishers in order to create this divide and rule policy to show Theravada and Mahayana as opposite to each other. And neglecting Mahayana and promoting Theravada, not because Britishers were interested in Theravada Buddhism. Britishers were interested in Theravada Buddhism because they wanted to show Buddha as a Protestant. In Christianity, you have Protestant and Catholic, two strands, two divisions. Protestant comes during Martin Luther, 17th century. He protests against the orthodoxy of the Catholic Church. In some hands. And Britishers are Protestant Christians. They are not Catholic. While Italy and France, they have Catholic population. So interestingly, you will find if you are working, this also came to me as a surprise. When you are looking at books written in 19th century, 20th century, you will get to know that all the Mahayana works were translated, or the people, European people who worked on Mahayana Buddhism, they were from France, Italy. And those who worked on Theravada, they were British. Even Indian scholars, those who worked on Mahayana Buddhism or Tantra, Buddhist Tantra, in 19th, 20th century, they are also working under these French scholars. For example, Vinayas Bhattacharya, there is Bhag Chandrajan, there is a person called P.L. Vaidhi, they are Indians. They did their dissertation, PhD thesis into French Italy because they are working in Mahayana Buddhism. So, European, they had their own inclination for Buddhism, not because of Buddhism, but because of their own Christian tradition, while Catholic tradition is more orthodox. So they look Mahayana more sort of, because there is image worship and Buddha and lots of rituals, which is more closer to Catholic tradition. While Protestant, they don't have idols in their church. No, they are more sort of, they propagate that, the Martin Luther is protesting against. So they propagated Buddha as a Protestant Buddha. Protestant means is protesting against Indian Vedic culture. He is protesting against, so the Buddha was propagated as a, somebody who was against ancient Indian Vedic culture. This Buddha protested. He protested certain things, not entire Indian Vedic culture. He protested violence of ritual. And not just Buddha, many Upanishads, they are also protesting against Vedic culture. India has, sort of open culture. You can criticize the gods in open. You can burn Manusmriti and Ramcharitmanas, no problem. You do that for the Islam. Even in India, you will be in big trouble. Just people burn Ramcharitmanas somewhere. Fine. No, Indian government did not put them in jail. So, you can speak freely against religion. Religion won't, trouble you. Religious people won't trouble you because India has been open for this. Amar Sen wrote a book, The Great Argumentative Indians. Indians have inherited this argumentative nature. They keep on arguing, I can argue. And no problem in arguing. Charvaka school, which attacked on Buddhist philosophy, I have taught for Buddhist students. Remember Charvaka philosophy? They are attacking directly. Right? More ferocious than Buddhists are attacking. Charvaka is also accepted. So what British they were doing, they were trying to propagate their own ideology, Protestant ideology, and they used Buddha and Buddhism in order to show that look what reforms we are bringing. Buddha also did that. He was against Vedic tradition, not entirely true. So and they propagated Theravada Buddhism purposely. Why? Because Sri Lanka was also their colony. Sri Lanka was captured by British, while Tibet, China, Vietnam was not British colony. Sri Lanka was. So they could import Sri Lankan text, Theravada text, and they worked on those Theravada texts and propagated. Look, these are primary sources, Theravada sources. So what British scholars are saying, look, these texts are against more. They propagated, in fact, against Indian tradition, and that was the time period when this great division between Buddhism and Hinduism is developed. For if you read all the Persian sources, all I'm telling you, till now I have not found. I have consulted many Persian scholars. Mughals also ruled in India and they wrote about India. Nowhere, not a single place till now I have not found. Maybe somebody will found and then can correct me. Till now it has not found that any Mughal historian is discriminating Hindu and Buddhist. There is no mention of Buddhist in India. When Nalanda is attacked and burned, in Tabaqat-e Nasri, there is a Persian account written by Mihraj Isnal. He is writing that it is a Hindu madrasa. It is a Hindu school, college. Nalanda was not a Hindu. We all know from all the sources. But Tabaqat-e Nasri is telling this is a Hindu. And everywhere, wherever there is a Buddhist, the word Buddha comes from the Buddha. So idol was synonymous. Any idol, irrespective of Buddha. In Persian, Buddha means statue, idol. And it doesn't come from Buddha. So idol worship itself was identified with Buddha. Because Buddhism was pervading all over the country. And it was not so-called Buddhism, and it was so-called Hinduism, but we identify. Hindu term is actually coming in 19th century, it is mostly geographical term. Nobody, prior to 19th century, no Indian text uses this term Hindu in context of religion. In context of religion, this term was not used. Now, Britishers, they made Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh. Anyway, this was the policy of divide and rule. Here, what I am trying to show that in India, the way Buddhism is studied is in the background of Theravada. And my professors also taught this, unfortunately. And I had to pay a heavy price for that. By the way, it's not, you say something and you don't have to pay the price. So there's a heavy price for that. But anyway, I feel something for Indian culture. So I thought, okay, let me take the rest. Anyway, so here is a Brajvallabh, is a very unknown figure in Indian education system, but very renowned. He did not know English at all. This is I have translated in the article from his book. But he was well respected across India, also abroad. Like he, Europeans they have a respect for what to say knowledge system. So they invited him and he spoke in Hindi. They translated. Some English translations are available, but very few. So he is writing this. Again, I am quoting it. The attempt to re-establish Buddhism in India has also taken in the background of Theravada. In this Mahayana and Tantra tradition of Buddhism, though there have been a huge translated literature of Mahayana and Tantra that is available in Chinese, Japanese, Tibetan, Mongolian language, unfortunately have been forgotten or rejected. He is writing 20 years back, of course, but this 20 years is not a very long time. So, the literature of Mahayana and Tantra, which are there, they have been forgotten or rejected. In a similar way, the revivalist of even Vedic tradition, not just Buddhism, even for the Vedic tradition, they have neglected the Agama, Tantra, Shastra and Puranic literature. Now, there is a whole tradition, by the way, this is another fact, that Indian, in general, Indian religious system, Indian Hindu present-day religious system, it's not Vedic. I am telling with full responsibility. What I am telling is not my original thing. Even Vivekananda has said this. It's not Vedic. Maximum number of prayers, Vedic prayers, are dedicated to which god? Anybody?
Nature.
Maximum number of it's dedicated to Indra, who governs the clouds and rains. Maximum number of Vedic hymns or prayer are dedicated to Indra. Second, Agni. Third, Varuna. In present India, Indian culture, you won't find a single temple dedicated to these gods. I'm talking about Indian culture, you won't find. They have become very minor deities somewhere. And who are the major deities? Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, Shakti. They all are Puranic and Tantric gods. They are not Vedic gods. Vishnu, just there is one hymn, he is called Up-Indra, subordinate to Indra. Rudra is not the present form of Shiva. There is a Rudra Sutra. People say they all have Vedic origin. They have altogether different. Rudra, Shiva is holding a bow and arrow. And he is a very ferocious god there. And people are asking, oh, don't kill my animal, don't kill my camel. Not Shiva, present day it means auspicious. Shivam, Satyam, Shivam, Sundar. Rudra means ferocious. So present day Hinduism is not Vedic. Present day Hinduism has its origin in Veda, no question in that. But the way it is followed, it's not Vedic, it's Puranic and Agamic, and the both have been neglected. And what has been propagated? Vedic tradition. Swami Dayanand, Arya Samaj, Vivekananda, they all were propagating Vedic, Veda, Vedoki or a lot. This was a British propaganda. And I'm telling you with full, how to say it, confidence. And don't think it is otherwise, because these are all national heroes. They are under the British influence. People, they are very much under the British influence. So, it was a British idea which tried to propagate Vedas in order to again show, because Vedas, the Sanskrit is very, very different. It's not classical Sanskrit. Vedic Sanskrit is almost 70 to 80% different in the language in which Mahabharata and Ramayana and Puranas have been written. They are in classical, not Vedic. So nobody knows present day Vedic Sanskrit. Nobody, I'm telling you, nobody. If there are no commentaries of Sayana and Yas, nobody can interpret Veda. Now it is very easy to manipulate if nobody can read. So you can put your own idea on that. And that is what has happened to India, Indian culture, Indian tradition. So Puranic and Tantric literature, they were neglected by Hindus. While Mahayana was neglected, Theravada was promoted. This is what is happening in 19th century British India in order to create this distorted picture of Indian culture and religion. Now he adds, some organizations and intellectuals, even though they are against the ideology of suppression of India. So there are people very enthusiastic, Mera Bharat Mahan, my India is great. So they do such type of things. So they are against the suppression ideology of how it is of literary, cultural heritage and they are talking about glorious past of India. However, knowingly or unknowingly, both. Knowingly or unknowingly, such influence have become forms of propaganda of Western ideological dominance. Even though there are some revival, are you getting what I'm trying to? Even though they are, it's all. This is not me. I am me saying. This is one of the, this passage I have taken from this. Bharati Kansas, which is published from Tibetan Central University of Tibetan Studies, Sata, one of the top institutions in India, where lots of Tibetan works have been done. Because entire Tibetan and Mahayana Buddhism, it has a huge influence of Tantra. Yesterday, when you recited the Nilkanta Hardi, it's a Tantra, it's a mantra, it's a Hardi, something. It's part of Tantra. And unfortunately, the way it has been neglected or purposely neglected that we don't recognize them as a part of Buddhism. And this is a big. Oh, time is up, sorry. Anyway. So, then the African proverb. Until the lion steps the other side of story,
Bài học tiếp
the
á.
tail of mind will always glorified.
Uống cà phê còn buồn ngủ không?
Unless Indians, they have their own story to tell from their own side of story, it will glorify. The pen that writes his life story must be held in your hands, not in another. Okay.